And I want to welcome everybody who's watching us online. It's great to have you join us as well. If you are ever near the North Branch, Minnesota area and you can't go to church on a Sunday, we're here on a Tuesday night. So we want to welcome you to come and pay us a visit on a Tuesday night. We are in a series, right smack dab in the middle of a series. And I'll tell you what, I say this probably about every series that we ever do. And I always say, hey, it's a good one. It's just a great one. But this retro rules is really kind of all about rules for life. And I think Shaheen made this very clear at the very beginning. And if you didn't see the first one of these messages, you should go online and watch it. But and that is this, that we in our culture tend to criticize things that are old. We want everything new, and old things. And I hear people say all the time, about certain maybe values, morals, things like that. People say that's so old-fashioned. Truly, there are some things that are old-fashioned that we should just kind of get rid of. But there are also some values, some teachings, I think some characteristics that are old, but they are so valuable to our lives. As a matter of fact, they're just so that we shouldn't throw them out because they worked a long time ago. They work today. And so that's kind of what this series is about. We're going through some Proverbs. Proverbs is a section in the Bible that's just purely wisdom, talks about, godly wisdom for our lives. And there's two disclaimers that we need to really highlight here. And that is this, that if you're reading Proverbs or even this message series going through Proverbs, it's about God's wisdom for our lives. It really has nothing to do with salvation, being with God. It doesn't even have a lot to do with like God, relating to us, working in our life. It's really more about God loves us so much that he said, here, I want to give you some advice on how to live. Kind of the same as us as parents, how we give our kids advice. And I know I'm a big advice giver to my kids, and I give them advice a lot, maybe too much, because I love them and I care for them. And I tell them, hey, I'd be careful with that, or don't do that. And hey, maybe you should behave this way or act this way, or those kind of things. Why? Because I love them and I want to give them advice to how to live your life and how to do things so that life goes better. And that's what Proverbs is. It's not about being right with God. It's about living together with other people. And another thing that we need to understand, and that is that Proverbs, especially if you're reading through it, that it's not the same as promises. Proverbs are a good idea, they're wise, but they're not promises from God. I hear a lot of people quoting Proverbs and kind of standing on it, train up a child in the way that they should go, and when they are old, they will not depart from it. Like, no, God promised. No, God didn't promise. Okay, it's just good advice. Generally speaking, most of the time, you live your life this way, and things are going to go better in your life. It's not a guarantee. It's not, like absolutely God won't let anything else happen. Sometimes poop happens. It just does. Okay, but it's a way to live life better, really good. And so, again, these first couple verses I'm going to go over, Shaheen already went over them, but I think we need to understand this as we're going through Proverbs. And this is kind of all of us. Okay, so we're not pointing the finger at anybody. It's just our life. We're taking a look at it. It says, there is a path before each person that seems right, but in the end, it leads to death. It leads to trouble. It leads to divorce. It leads to alcoholism. It leads to all kinds of crud. And you know what? When we're doing things in life that don't work out right, when we're doing them, we think it's the right thing to do. Most of our, I don't know very many people go, you know what, I know that's going to hurt. I know that's the wrong thing to do, and I'm going to do it anyway. Most people don't live like that. It's usually, no, this seems right. I think this is the right thing to do. This will be fine. Nothing's going to happen. It'll be okay. And dang it, it isn't. But here's the thing. It seems right to us. So what's the wise thing to do? And I really think that we need to respect God and trust him. It says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Don't depend on your own understanding. Why? Because we don't understand a lot. I mean, we don't even know what's going to happen an hour from now. How wise are we to really judge what's really good, what's really not? Wouldn't it be better to listen to God? Because I think, you know what, if you believe in God at all, it doesn't matter how close you follow him, just if you believe there is a God out there, if you believe there's a God out there, you got to think he's smarter than we are, right? You see what I mean? Yes. Yes. Of course he is. If there is a God, he definitely knows more than we do. Wouldn't it be to our advantage to listen to what he says? Don't lean on our own understanding, but seek his will. Seek God. What does he have to say? In all you do, and he will show you which path to take. God's ways, God's advice is always better than what seems right to us. When you and I are going through life and God says this, but we don't see anything wrong with this, maybe we should stop and go, wait a minute. God's got to know more than me. God's ways are better than my ways. Maybe I should do what he says. But I know human nature, and this is kind of where most of us fall, is right here. People ruin their own lives, by their own foolishness, and then are angry at the Lord. I think that I know this for myself is true, and maybe not for you, but partially it has to be. Most of the pain in my life I have caused. And not all of it. Sometimes in life there are evil people who do bad things to us. Sometimes there's just circumstances. Sometimes there's two cars that want to take up the very same spot on the road at the same time. Trouble happens, calamity happens. But for the most part, I think in our lives, we cause our own problems. The decisions we make, the things we say, or the things we don't say, or who we asked to marry us, or who we said yes we'd marry, what we buy, when we do. Most of the turmoil, trouble, heartache, restlessness, anxiety, most of it comes from our own decisions. We cause it ourselves. And oftentimes when it happens, when the trouble comes, oftentimes we blame God. God, how come I don't have enough? God, how come this? How come those people don't love me? God, how come you didn't do this? How come and it's so oftentimes we cause our own problems, and a lot of times we just are angry at God. And if we don't blame God, or if we're not angry at God, then we take the second best route. We blame somebody else. Most of the issues, not all, of the trouble and issues in our life, you and I cause by our decisions, by the things we do, by doing opposite of what God says, ends up causing pain. It might not be tomorrow, but someday it hurts. And what do? We blame somebody else. And you think, what? Let's think about this. Why do we blame other people? Well, because it can't be our fault. I tell you, most of us, we think, well, I don't have any problems. I didn't do that wrong. My attitudes are good. My actions are okay. And so since I'm not the problem, obviously, somebody else has to be, right? Because you're not the problem, right? This would mean yes, right? You're not the problem. Somebody else has got to be the problem, because I'm certainly not the problem myself. And I'll tell you what, I think even when somebody tries to bring out to us, somebody tries to tell us, no, your own actions caused that. When somebody tries to bring correction into our life, usually what we do is we excuse it away. No, you don't understand. Oh, no. It's not me. No. They did it. No. And usually when the downfalls, the problems that we have in our life, the shortcomings we have, so oftentimes when somebody brings those to mind, or even the Bible brings it out, whatever, we say, oh no, that's not me. No. I mean, this is just nature. This is what we do. We don't blame ourselves at all. We usually excuse our behavior. Let me give you a prime example. I got some issues. I got some issues. One of my issues is I'm a very critical thinker. My daughter said to me recently, actually just a couple weeks ago, Dad, do you know why people don't like you? And I said, people don't like me? Dad, you know why people don't like you? Because you're so critical and you correct them all the time and you do this. And people just don't like you for that reason. And I'll tell you what, my first response was to say, yeah, but I'm right. Honestly, let me give an example. My wife at home my daughter was there when this happened just a couple weeks ago, and so she brought it up. But my wife says, Kevin, can you reach that up in the cupboard? And my response is, well, of course I can. I'm 6 feet tall and I can, yeah, of course I can. Well, why don't you? Well, you didn't ask me if I would. You didn't say, will you? You said, can you? Do I have the ability? Can you lift this? Yeah, I can. Of course I can. See, that's how stupid critical I am, just like it's crazy. It's just, you're asking me if I have the ability, and I'm answering you yes, but what she meant was, and I mean, I'm terrible. I think, well, why didn't you say, hey, would you do this for me? Not can you? That's just how my brain works. I was doing, just last week, I was doing some online training, once a year renewal training for something. And at the end of each course, it's online. At the end of each course, it says, now take a graded quiz. Okay. Click next to take the graded quiz. I click next and it says test. And I mean, this is a critical. Thank God you don't live with me. You should all be happy because I'm looking for a graded quiz, not a test. If they were going to say it's a test, why don't you say test? Why would you say graded quiz? See, my mind, that makes no sense to me. Well, you're going to have a graded quiz. Here's your test. Why don't you say what you mean? That's how critical I am with stuff. When people are talking and they're talking about a conversation, what you should say is, yeah, the neighbor said this to me, and then I said this, and then what they said was this, and then I said back to them. But no. Sometimes it's, well, they go, and then I go, and I thought, where the heck's everybody going? What do you mean you go? So inside, it's tearing me up inside, right? You don't go, you say, you respond, right? You say, I go like this, and then they go, and then I go. It's ridiculous. And so I'm not over it yet, but I took the first step. I stopped excusing it because every time somebody brought it up to me, you're so critical. Yeah, but that's what they said. Yeah, but I'm not wrong. That's what that word means. But that's what they said. And I defend myself when technically I might be right, but I'm way wrong in doing relationships, and that's not what people mean. They're not as critical as I am and whatever. So, hey, step one was I admitted, okay, I might be a little too critical. That's why people don't like me. All right. What's your deal? Why don't people like you? Oh, I know, everybody loves you. No, but think about it. Think about it. None of us, we really think that when problems happen in our life, usually we think, well, I didn't do that wrong, or no, I'm not the problem. And if somebody points out an issue, do you respond like I do? Do you respond, well, no. If somebody says to you, man, you're so angry, what do you do with that? I'm not angry. If you would have done that, I wouldn't be. You make me mad. I'm not angry. You went and did the, you did the, well, it's because I worked all day and okay. When somebody says you're angry, is your first response to excuse it? Because obviously you don't have a problem. Or what about this one? I've met a couple of people in my life where I've actually addressed them with saying, hey, you know what? People would take you a little bit better if you didn't come across so arrogant. And I told two people I can remember in my life saying, hey, you're kind of arrogant. No, I'm not arrogant. I'm not. That's confident. I'm just confident. I'm not arrogant. I'm confident. And that's a pretty arrogant thing to say. But anyway, the whole point, whatever issue is, and let me just ask you right now, are you aware you have issues? I mean, are we aware that we have problems, that we cause problems, that our personality isn't perfect, that we have some issues? And when somebody brings that up to us, how do we respond? Try to think the last time somebody brought up maybe something to you, maybe your greed or jealousy, or maybe it is a big one, you're selfish. How did you respond the last time somebody said that and pointed out one of your flaws? How did you respond? Did you say, thank you so much? Wow. I'll tell you what, the Bible, Proverbs, is so smart. Okay, wisdom from God. Listen to this one. To learn, you must love discipline. It is stupid to hate correction. Now, I picked this one because it says stupid. And if I say stupid a lot, you'll look down on me. But I could read the Bible all day long and it says stupid. Here's the point. It is stupid to hate correction. For me, in my life, it would be a stupid thing to do to hate being corrected. And for you too, isn't it? Think about it. Isn't it dumb to make excuses for our flaws? I mean, is it dumb? Because here's what it comes down to. It comes down to this. Look at all the pain and suffering we are causing ourselves and the people who live with us. Listen, if you're selfish, it's stupid to hate correction because your selfishness is hurting you. Maybe you can't see it right now. It's definitely hurting your family, probably hurting the people that you work with, the people that you do life with, your friends. If you're selfish, it's causing pain in your life. Hey, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out. That would be dumb to ignore correction and keep causing myself pain. Or maybe it's greed. Maybe somebody's tried to say to you, man, you're kind of greedy. Or maybe somebody really close to you said, you're greedy. And of course, I know you did. You made excuses. You said, no, I'm not. I get it. How stupid is that? Don't be offended and leave. I'm talking to all of us. Even you watching online, okay? I'm just saying, how stupid is of us to just ignore correction, especially when these character issues, these problems, these shortcomings are causing most of the pain and most of the hurt in our life. If you're jealous, has somebody ever said you're jealous? And I know you said, no, I'm not. That's stupid if you are jealous. Do you have any idea what jealousy causes the pain in your life? Of mistrust, never being able to relax, always wondering about, I mean, it's a horrible way to live. It would be stupid to ignore correction or whatever else, our thing is. Hey, maybe you're a sour, unhappy person. Maybe you've had somebody say, man, you're so unhappy all the time. No, I'm not. I'm happy. Well, good for you. How stupid is it to ignore that? Look at all what it's costing us in our life to just ignore correction. It's dumb. Listen, if you and I want our lives to be better, and I know everything's not our fault, I get it. But if you and I want to do something to help our lives, just to be more successful, to get a promotion, to have more financial freedom, to have more friends, to be, I guess, to be looked up to more, or to be admired, or just to have a better life. If you and I want our life to be better than it is right now, then there's wisdom that the Bible says that you and I should follow. And it's this: if we ignore criticism, you will end in poverty and disgraced. But here it is: if you accept correction, you will be honored. Maybe one little simple move you and I can make in our life is to start accepting correction. Accepting correction. At least taking a look at it. At least not excusing it away right away, but to accept correction. Last week, Sheen talked about the power of our words, and in there, he said that we should tell the truth. And I want to add to that, kind of goes hand in hand to this, that we and I should tell the truth. If we love people, we're going to tell them the truth. But how about for you and I to do this? How about listen to it? How about if we started listening to people telling us the truth, or at least they're trying to tell us the truth? Can you imagine how much better our lives would be if we could accept correction, listen to truth when people are trying to tell us truth? Now, I know not everybody telling us truth is all truth. I get that. Some people aren't your friend, right? You might have enemies, and when they criticize you or they give you correction, it's easy to say, well, they don't mean it. That's wrong, whatever. Listen, even our worst enemy, when they give us correction, there's almost always an element of truth in it. The whole thing might not be true. And especially when somebody says, I know I have a problem, right? How critical I am. If somebody says, Kevin, you always do this. Well, I know I don't always, because I'm not doing it right now. So I use the word always to throw out everything they're saying. Well, that's not true. I don't always do that. But here's the deal. The always might not be right. Their tone of voice might not be great. Everything they tell you might not be great. But here's what I'm suggesting we do. We at least listen to the correction. We listen to the truth so we can weigh it out. So we can ponder it and ask ourselves, is there any truth to what they're saying? Is there? How about this? Am I like that? Am I greedy? Wow, I don't think I am, but am I? Somebody else sees something I can't see. And usually our flaws, we can't see. So if somebody else is going to tell us, let's listen to it. Let's take it in. I know it's not easy. It's embarrassing. It's horrible. It's hard. But the advantage it can do in our life, how much our lives can be better if you and I would do this one simple practice. Listen. Think about. Ask ourselves it again. Is that true? Or any part of it? Because let me tell you, it will do so much good for our life. The first thing that we can gain, and I mean, we could all just learn this, it will help us grow. It will help us become better. Let me ask you this. When's the last time that you can remember that you grew over a problem, over an issue? Yeah, I used to overeat. I used to do this all the time. I used to never say nothing. I used to always spend without thinking. When's the last time in your life that you can remember and you can pinpoint, I grew? I overcame that. I developed in that area? Or are we the same people today that we were 5 years ago? Can you think of the last time you've actually grown and changed? Instead of just keep defending ourselves, keep reinforcing, we're never, every time we defend ourselves or have an excuse to a criticism or somebody trying to tell us the truth, it means we have no intention of growing. We have no intention of changing. If we're going to defend ourselves, we're just going to stay the way we are. When's the last time you grew? Because I'll tell you, a great opportunity for you and I to grow is when we listen to truth, when we take heed to correction. When's the last time you took heed to correction? Think about it. When's the last time when your boss or your coworker or your spouse or somebody said, hey, you're not doing that wrong, you shouldn't do that, you do this, you know what, you're greedy, you say whatever. When's the last time you said, wow, thank you. I needed to hear that. I have a real issue. That's an opportunity to grow in our life when you and I will listen to truth, listen to correction in our lives. Another thing that can happen in our lives, which we all need to happen, and that is this: it can teach us humility. Most of us, humility's not our problem. Okay, I know some people are more proud than others, but honestly, we all could use a little dose of humility, because it comes down to this. None of us are probably all that we think we are. None of us are all we think we are. As a matter of fact, subconsciously, most of us think we're above correction. Most of us think there's nothing wrong with me. That's ridiculous even saying. There's nothing wrong with me. No, I'm good. I'm healthy. My marriage issues, that's her. My work issues, that's them. My friends' issues, that's them. You know what? My financial issues, that's inflation. I mean, it would do us good, honestly. We could use a little dose of humility and say, maybe I'm not that great in this area. Maybe I need some correction, or I need to move or grow in this area. And the last one I just want to point out, there's others, but the last benefit to listening to truth is it keeps us challenged. Keeps us challenged. It keeps us working on things and challenged to do better. And I know so often, it's a common phrase. All of us have probably said it. I know I've said it many times, and that is this: when somebody brings me correction or wants to give me some truth that I need to hear, I have oftentimes said, that's just the way I am. Yeah, that's the problem. That's just the way I am. We say that as if we're defending it. We say that like, oh no, I'm not changing. Well, if you don't like it, I'm sorry, that's just the way I am. Hey, listen, what if you're an a-hole? Can I say that in church? Well, that's just the way I am. Yeah, I know. Maybe we need to be challenged to not be such an a-hole. Right? There's something working against us. We live in a culture that defends us being an a-hole. Well, you just be you. Hey, listen, don't just be you, okay? If there's problems with you. Our culture would tell us, no, don't make excuses for your issues, or you're different than everybody else, or you're this or that. That's just you. Hey, guess what? We're the problem. That's causing us all kinds of problems. If that's just me, don't let people tell you, it's okay, you just be you. Just go ahead and flick everybody off. No, we need to be challenged to grow. We need to face a little humility so we can be challenged so that you and I can become better in our life. We are a part of our problem. Don't you want to fix it? And I know it's hard sometimes to hear the truth, to hear criticism. But if somebody's giving you criticism, you should thank God for it. I'm serious. You should thank God for it. Because I know it hurts, but here's another proverb that just kind of all goes in line with this. And it says this: wounds from a friend, hurtful truth. They hurt, but they can be trusted if they're coming from a friend. Somebody who loves you and cares about you is telling you something hurtful. You should thank God that they're telling you. But an enemy multiplies kisses. If everybody in your life is just saying how wonderful you are and you're great and all that, you probably don't have any friends. I'm serious. Probably don't have any friends. And here's the thing I wonder about myself. If people aren't saying hard, tough things to me, is it because I've shut them down so many times they gave up? I mean, wouldn't that be sad? If people in the past tried to correct us, but they gave up, nobody says that about me anymore. Well, did you change? Or did they just give up? You and I should invite wounds from a friend. We should listen to truth to make our lives better. This is quite a few years ago, but one of my brother's wives, actually is my brother Tom, the one I go hunting with the most. I've hunted with him ever since we were kids. And we went on trips all over the country and even the world, I guess. And his wife said to me one time many years ago, she called me selfish self. And I thought, well, fine, you beautiful person, selfish self. And I said, what makes you think I'm not selfish? You're selfish. You go hunting all the time and you spend all this money hunting and you do all this. And I took great offense at that. What do you mean? It's what I do. It's my life. I've always have done it. And you know what? I mean, listen, here's my justification. I've never borrowed money to go hunting. I mean, I'm responsible. I've always taken time off work. I've always, had the money to do it. I never borrowed money or whatever. And so I was kind of ticked off the first time she said it. And then we were together again a week or two later. So I asked her, what did you mean about calling me selfish self because of my hunting? And then she went in a little deeper to say, because I explained to her, I've never borrowed money to go hunting. She said, yeah, but when she first met Tom, I'm 4 years older than Tom. I had a young family. And Tom and I are running off to Alaska, and we're going to Montana, and we go on these hunting things. And she said, maybe you had enough money, but you were irresponsible. You left you didn't borrow money, but you left your family with you. You could have fixed this. You should have fixed that. You guys had one car that barely ran, and you did that. And once I started listening, taking it in, not defending, but listening, I had to realize something. Don't ever tell her I said this. She was right. What kind of a selfish person? In your early 20s, 2 young kids at home, 1 car, living in a trailer house that the hot water doesn't work. But if I'm not borrowing money, I'm okay. Like, wow, there's a bigger picture here. And how since then I have looked at, trust me, I still go hunting, right? but I've looked at it differently. I've taken a look at myself and I analyze a longer filter. If I'm going on a hunting trip, it goes through way more filters than just, I don't have to borrow money to go. Now it's, is there something else I should be doing with the money? Is everything else at home taken care of? Is everything else okay? Hey, it's made my life better. It's made my life better by listening to somebody tell me something that's very hurtful. I want you to just imagine for a minute, honestly, think about your own life, nobody else, just you. How much better do you think your life would be if you listened to people that have tried to correct issues in your life? Maybe they've called you proud or arrogant. Maybe people gave up, but they used to say that you were angry or jealous or greedy or so defensive. If any of these are even partially true and you've ignored it, you've defended it, imagine how much it's hurt your life. Imagine how much better it would be if you believed people when they told you you're just an unhappy person. You're so selfish. Think about how much better our life would be if we would heed correction, if we would listen to people telling us the truth. Not everything they say we have to take, but there's usually an element of truth when people are telling us something. Wouldn't it be to our advantage? Here's an old word for you. Wouldn't it behoove us to at least think about, to ponder? I mean, privately, not in front of them, but privately. Is that true? Is that even partially true? And then step number one is to say, wow, to admit there's some truth there. And step number two is to say, God, I can't change this on my own. There's no way I can stop being selfish if I've been selfish for all my life. But at least we can bring it to God and say, God, this has been hurting my life. Here I kept excusing it away, but I am judgmental and uncritical. And how many people have I hurt? Father, I don't want to be like that anymore. Father, I need you to transform my heart. Help me not to treat people critically. Help me to not be so selfish, to not be so angry, to not be so short, to not be so arrogant, to not be so proud, to not be so envious or jealous, whatever it is. How much better would our lives be? And just think if a year from now, if somebody were to ask us, how are you different today than you were last year? We would be able to say, oh, hey, guess what? Somebody helped me realize that I was this way. And I asked God to help me. And I've actually grown. I'm not like that anymore. Let's bring this to God and ask God to help reveal and help us. Father, of course it's our nature to excuse our bad attitudes, our bad behaviors, our flaws. Of course we excuse them. That's human nature, that we don't see our own faults. But Father, there's no doubt that a lot of the difficulty, pain, arguments, worry, anxiety, these things in my life, there's no doubt that I have a part to do in that. Father, help me see it. Help reveal it to me, Father. Help me listen to what people are saying. And maybe if it's not direct, help me to listen to what they're trying to tell me. Father, help me listen to truth that people are trying to say. And then, Father, give me the strength and the power and the transforming power to overcome it. Help me be delivered from these areas in my life, I pray. In Jesus' name, amen.